Just wanted to say happy Thanksgiving to Dad Talk and to all the fathers out there that may not be with their kids during the holidays, myself included. Thank you guys for being the backbone a lot of times during these tough holiday seasons and tough times. Just know that there's many of us out there that are fighting these battles with you guys 100%, and hopefully our children one day will have their eyes open to just how hard that we fought to just have them in our lives on an equal basis when it comes to being able to parent. So just want to give you guys a happy Thanksgiving, and also tell my children, Grayson, Mila, Jace, that I love you, and Daddy will be making that 2,500-mile trip in a few weeks to hopefully not be interfered with when it comes to seeing you guys. I love y'all. Thanks, Dad Talk.
What's going on, guys? Hey, I appreciate you for sending that in, brother. A lot of emotions coming when I hear that. I tell you what, guys, I've got a few shout outs that people wanted to give to their kids and their family today. This was kind of a last minute thing I put together. I was trying to think of what to do for a Thanksgiving episode. I thought about playing reruns or something, but this is a very sad day for me. I was thinking about it earlier this morning. I had planned on going, and I still do plan on going and doing something with my family here in a bit. But you never know who out there might be needing these words of encouragement or this platform to come and vent that might not be able to see their family today. It was 2 years ago today that we did a Thanksgiving special. And, those usually aren't high-rated shows, man. People are with family, and it's not about high ratings or views or whatever. It was about giving a platform to these guys so they can say whatever to their kids, maybe vent, know that they're not alone, because that's got to be one of the worst feelings in the world. Here it is. It's the holidays. It's time that you're supposed to be spending with the ones you love, and you're not being gave that opportunity. Many of them for no other reason than because they are dad. Okay. And that's the sad part about this. But when we ran that special 2 years ago, my first caller was John Mast. Now, I'll tell you straight up, I pre-recorded this because I wanted to get that done. Same as that year, I was going to go spend some time with my family. So I spent that whole week pre-recording conversations with parents so that we could put that show together and have it here on Dad Talk. And again, that first person that called was John Mast. And I never knew that day that I was talking to one of the guys like we're doing right now that just a few months later would lose his life in this fight when he goes to pick up his kids. Guys, my first time seeing John Mast in person was standing over his casket. And this was a guy that called into this show to vent and to get some encouragement. I take that very, very serious. With that 2 years, I wish I had an update on that case to give you guys. I really don't. This case has been pushed back 4 times. 4. And there is a family that is waiting for justice. And if any of them are listening right now, I love you guys dearly. I don't know that there is an episode I do on Dad Talk where I don't mention John. And you'll have to excuse me. I've talked to lots of different media personalities and stuff. And they, one thing that they always say is, Eric, don't get too attached to these cases, especially with the subject matter. It'll really do a number on you. This is one of those cases I am I'm attached to like white on rice, man. Just hearing the battle that he went through. And, we're working on a new mini series that's going to go back into the Mass case because there were so many details at the time that we shot that documentary that I didn't know. It was so much that went on in that case that it is very hard to comprehend. And when I hear these parents calling in, there's usually something every episode that oh, that's something that John went through. This guy right here talking about going 2,500 miles just to go see his kids. Man, I am so sorry you're having to do that, brother. And like I said, thank you so much. And I'll tell you, like you'll see in a second, the same way I told John 2 years ago. Good thing about this, you can always show this to your kids. One day when they were thinking, hey, what was daddy doing on that Thanksgiving? He didn't want to be with me, or what was going on? Bring them back. Let them see that episode of Dad Talk. But that was also something else that John was going through. That's why I wanted to play his video first. As you know, John's case went down in North Dakota. When he was supposed to get custody of the kids, she took off, went to Idaho. There was times, guys, that John drove all the way from Williston, North Dakota to Lewiston, Idaho. And I'm going to tell you, that's a long trip. I think it's like 14, 15 hours, if not a little bit more. There was times he made that trip and then didn't even get to see the kids, and he had to turn around and go right back. And I think of that. You just got off. You've been working all week, and I think John worked multiple jobs. As soon as he got off, he made that track, and that is a long track, nowhere to stop, nowhere really to have a break. Don't get to see the kids, or maybe he gets to see them for a few hours, and it's under circumstances that a lot of you alienated parents experience, and then have to drive all the way back. And he did that numerous times, never complained. The guy was a trooper, man. He really was a trooper. And so now, I'm hearing stuff from like the gentleman that we just heard from, and you'll have to excuse me, man. I didn't catch your name, brother. But I feel like all of us are connected in this fight. I really do. And again, one of the main reasons I think a lot of the guys are going through what they're going through right now, or any other day for that matter, is because of that. They're a guy, right? We get a lot of flack on here sometimes for talking about dads. People don't like it. Sorry. There's a million other places that's probably got something that's going to make you feel a little bit more warm and fuzzy inside, but it's not going to be here. I'm ready to speak the truth. I think part of the reason that all of this exists is because there's been too many people afraid to touch on these real subjects and what's going on. We've got to stop that. We cannot be apologetic. Right now, we are in a war for our kids like you have never, ever seen, guys. I don't think many in this movement understand how big it is. We've been on the front lines. We've been behind the scenes. We see what's going on. It's such a rabbit hole. I could never put it into words on this show. I have it up here, but as much as I've done this, I don't know that I would ever be able to accurately explain just how deep this thing actually goes. So in the meantime, while we're fighting this war, we have platforms like this to expose the problem. Some of those jokes we make, there's a lot of truth to it. Get down there in the comments and read it. Guys that are experiencing these problems, you know what I'm saying. You see those memes that are going out on the page. Oh man, do they trigger people? Yes, they do. But it wouldn't trigger people if there wasn't some truth to it, right? And there's people that only show up when they want you to shut up. You don't hear from them any other time. They're not going to cheer for you when you're saying something they don't care about. It's only when you start making progress. That's when they show up. So anyway, guys, I want to get to this morning. I want to pay tribute to John Mast. We're going to go back to 2 years ago when I recorded that conversation with John. I'm going to show you when he called into the show, and then afterwards, and I didn't realize this until after John had passed away and we were shooting the documentary. I've showed it on the show a couple of times, but I'm going to play it again today. I had brought John, when I heard his story, I was like, man, I want to talk to this guy. I was waiting on another caller, and I brought John up on the screen with me. Now, originally I didn't, because I didn't want anything to be able to be used against him. Unfortunately, if you say it on the internet, you're here, got the face, you say names, they'll take it in court. And he said this, or this about me. And I did not want that to happen to this guy, especially somebody that had been through the battle like John had been through. But afterwards, like I said, I pulled him up and I had no idea it was recording, and I found it several months later when we was making that. So I just want to pay tribute to him. If you guys would, man, uh, and today put the I Stand With Johns down there. When that first happened, this thing was going viral. And this is one of the hard things about what we do with this movement, guys. When these stories happen, they're red hot. I mean, John's story was red hot. People had him as their profile picture. I Stand With John, the whole 9 yards. And then as time goes by, other things happen, and we tend to forget some of these instances. That is a story. We are not going to let it die, man. I promise you, we're going to fight it until the very, very end. And I want to see it through. So anything that you can do to help in his memory, I Stand With John or whatever, share a picture, something that we've done, maybe the documentary. I'm telling you, there was a lot more that we didn't get to go into. So I'm looking forward to getting the complete story out for you guys a little bit later on. With that said, we're going to go ahead and get to this. This is John on Thanksgiving of 2020 during the height of COVID when he called into Dad Talk.
At this time, I'd like to bring our first guest on the show. John, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Hey, John, how you doing this Thanksgiving, man?
I'm all right. How about you?
I'm doing all right, man. So tell us a little bit. I don't know, is it parental alienation you've experienced, the child custody issues, family court? Tell us a little bit about what it is you've experienced.
Yeah, it's all of that. About a little bit over 3 years ago, my ex-wife and I separated, and pretty much from that point on, the kids have been separated from me. We had a very close relationship, a normal, healthy bond before that, and currently, I haven't seen the kids in 2.5 months. Look, in spite of a court order, in spite of some pretty hefty court order to try and get me involved in the kids' lives.
Right. How has that been for you, man? 2.5 months and not seeing your kids. How long or how old were they before this started going down?
They were 4 and 5 when we separated.
4 and 5. So 4 and 5 years that you was in your children's life. Now it's been 2.5 months. I mean, what's that been like for you mentally?
You know, it's really, and actually it's been 3 years. There was one point of 9 months of no contact, 6 months. It just comes and goes with the whims of whoever is strongest out there, I think. But the way I feel misunderstood, and I feel not important, undervalued as a father, just that I don't necessarily mean much to the people that look at me that are in decision-making power.
How does that feel to know that there is a system? There's a system, you know, John. We should be able to go to them for justice. If there's something going on, there's false allegations, there's parental alienation. It's not like it's hard to spot. You would think that these courts would be very well educated on it by now, and they would protect your right as a parent to be in your child's life. We know most of the time that's not what's happening, and they're going through situations like you. Do you have any faith in the court system as it is right now?
No.
And that's
No.
sad. That's sad, because I don't either. I'll be honest with you, I don't either. And it sounds like, you know, I guess you've been going through this a couple of years, but what are some of the things that you've done to try to keep yourself going and keep your mind off of this?
You know, I've stayed busy with side jobs, a lot of extras that I normally wouldn't do. I try to find something every week to get my mind off things, and I've really worked on cultivating healthy relationships in my life. In some ways, my family is very supportive, so much that they've done, but they haven't been through this, and they don't understand necessarily. And sometimes it feels like they are even not there for me.
Right. And that's a hard thing. You know, we talk about that. That's a very, very common thing for somebody that's going through alienation, that's been through family court. You want to tell somebody, especially family, they want to know what's going on. Why aren't the kids around? And they don't get it because they haven't been through it. And for people that haven't been through it, it seems a little far-fetched in a way with parental alienation, but they just look how easy it was to get your kids to believe in Santa Claus. I mean, you got this custodial parent that's sitting there, and that's who the kid looks up to because that's the parent that they're with every day. And when they're not seeing the other parent, it's so easy for them to tell them whatever, and kids believe it because they want to believe their parents. All right, so John, what I would like you to do is next time you are telling your story to them, instead of saying, hey, this is what I'm going through, tell them, imagine you spent so much money in family court, you spent all these years, you get this judgment against you, you're not seeing your kids, and it forces them to walk a mile in your shoes. I've seen that very effective. And it's hard explaining this to somebody that's never been through it.
That's
It
true.
is. And that's why I think things like what we're doing right now is important, because I'm sure you've got a lot of details about your case that are completely different than mine. You know,
Absolutely.
if there is some parents out there right now that's going through parental alienation, they're just now experiencing this, they're not sure what's going on, it's Thanksgiving, they're watching us instead of being with their family, what's some advice you could give to them, man?
I think what I'd say is just keep your mind busy. Try and look for a close friend, or you might need to develop new friendships. It can go so many different ways, but just be prepared for some very hard times. And I don't want to be really gloomy about anything, but honestly, if you get into this point where you're relying on a court system and other people, they have jobs, full-time jobs, they see this every day, but neither do they necessarily care. So you have to look out for you and yourself.
That's right, man. I really appreciate that. There's something you hit on. I want to tap into it a little bit more. You said be careful who you're hanging out with, basically your friends, and who you are surrounding yourself with. What's the importance in that, and why would you say that advice?
There are some people that will, for one, they may have kids and they may see their relationship with their kids. They may not at all understand, and they may in turn end up judging you for whatever it is that may have led to the situation you're in. And obviously it goes both ways, but you just have to be really careful and pick some positive and uplifting people that will be there for you.
I agree with that, and I really thank you for that. Did you know what parental alienation was before you started going through it?
I did not, but there were some, I honestly didn't know, but I started looking into it right away and I researched it. And before all of this started happening, I had some maybe red flags that kind of were dripped, some breadcrumbs, and kind of started realizing some things could happen. And no, I did not know what parental alienation was.
You said you saw some red flags. Could you mention some of those for me?
Yeah, if I can carefully, there were just some comments like children, possession is, this is one comment, possession is 90% of the law. So if one parent or the other has the kids, that's the way it will stick, is kind of what was said to me, and amongst a few other things, but it was that sentiment.
Right. How is the communication between you and your ex? Is it something that you can talk to, or is just not happening? All right, let me get into this next part, guys.
Absolutely love to talk to her about the well-being of the children, but communication is non-existent.
In the relationship, how was her relationship with your family?
it was interesting. It was strained, and it brought my relationship with my family to be strained, to be somewhat in times non-existent, and to be have some difficulties there in that relationship with my family.
It's important, man. Those are some of the biggest red flags that you can ever see inside of a relationship. I didn't realize it until I was going through it. I very much had my brother living right beside me, my sister living right beside me, my mom. We all lived kind of like in this close-knit community. That's the way my dad wanted it. And he died about 8 years ago. And when I got in this relationship before I started getting alienated, we have such a close family. Next thing I know, there was a wedge being drove between me and my mom, somebody that I've never had a wedge drove between, my brother, my sister, my kids. And now I understand it better. If they will try to alienate you from your own family, they will definitely do it with your kids. And I think that's a way of anybody that has any influence in your life, making sure they separate you, because that's how they can get control of you. That's how the manipulation works. It's not so easy to see that when you're in the relationship. It's you're in love with somebody, you're trusting them, and that was interesting. That's why I wanted to ask you a little bit about that. But do you do anything for your kids, man, in this time that you're not being able to see them? Are you writing them a little journal or making them videos, letting them know, hey, I love you, I wanted to see you, I didn't get to? I'm curious, is there anything like that going on?
Yeah, at first I was really excited about doing things like journaling and keeping in contact with them through gifts, birthday gifts and Christmas gifts, but those gifts were all sent back to me. And then the journaling, at one point it got so bad that I just didn't have heart to do that anymore. But lately what I've been doing is I know where they're going to school. I have a relationship with their teachers. I'm in contact with them that way. And every now and then I leave them just some really small, minute gifts that they can either put in their backpacks at school and keep at school, or maybe a snack and a card, something that they don't necessarily have to take home and talk to mom about, something they can just keep there at school or in their backpacks. And it's kind of a little thing that keeps me in contact with them, hopefully.
Now, I've experienced that as well, and I know that we haven't quite got there. That'll be next month, or, birthdays and stuff, but you mentioned something that's very common as well, getting them gifts, and they won't even let them have the gifts. They don't want them to know there's any bit of caring from you towards your children. They don't want them to receive anything. What was it like for you the first time that happened?
I was shocked, and I was once again kind of not excited about it, but just realizing that I can document this and I can show it to my attorney and we can show it to the court, and surely it will be important for the court. And it kind of was. It was probably something that helped my case and did not help her.
I mean, it's things like that any judge, any attorney should be able to take a look at and know something's going on here. Something's not right. This isn't a normal relationship. And I'm sorry to hear about that. But, man, it seems like you got your head on your shoulders. I'm sorry you're going through this. And I appreciate you coming on and telling everybody. Is there anything else you would like to leave? There's some parent there that's, this is their first Thanksgiving, not being able to see their children. Is there anything you'd like to leave them with?
Just reiterate what I said, is you have to keep your head up for your children. It's for them. It's all about the children now. And in order to do that, you have to remain healthy as much as you can. I know I didn't remain healthy all the time. You probably won't either, but just do your best to realize that it's up to you to get back into your children's lives, because for the most part, the system won't do much to help you. Even people we would tend to rely on, like therapists, they more than likely won't help you. And it's a very difficult battle, but you can do it and keep going.
Hey, brother, I sure do appreciate you coming on here and sharing a little bit of your heart on your holiday with everybody. And I hope everything goes well for you, my man.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, Eric, and thanks for all you do.
Ooh, it's been a minute since I've watched that one too. Lots of stuff going through my head looking back at that video that me and John touched on it. But if there's anything that I would like to say after listening to that, take those words from John to heart, guys. If you're one of those parents, you know, the thing is, like, I didn't come into this as a professional or an attorney or anything like that. I was just a dad that when I went to go find help through the system, much like John did, I realized how corrupt it was. It seemed like there was nobody out there that was real and genuinely wanting help. So that's why I started the show. I wanted to promote the issues and show people how many parents were going through this. So I learned along the way. Excuse me, coffee's coming up. But you know, just like this, I was not aware of false allegations, and I learned more as time went by. So, you know, hearing from a guy like this, and then the words that John had there as this story progressed, and we did that documentary, him talking about you couldn't trust anybody within the system, talking about therapists and stuff. Every one of those therapists pretty much turned their back on John. Everybody, when he went through that allegation, man, from that moment on, it was just like nothing he said mattered. You know, I want to go back to when he was talking about his family. There was a couple of points that we made on there that, you know, he's talking about how even as much as they wanted to be there for him because they had not been through it and almost felt like they weren't there at times. And if John was going through that, I can only imagine what it's like for some of you guys, especially the ones that don't have parents, because he has one of the most supportive, beautiful families out there. He could have never fought as hard as he did without that family. But what about the ones that don't? And you know, sometimes family is some of the hardest people to vent to, because if you're being alienated from a child, most of the time, so are they. So they have emotions wrapped up in it too. And you're just wanting to go and get that anger and those emotions out to somebody and vent it so that you're not carrying it around with you all the time. Right? It's just despicable. It's despicable what goes on here. The amount of money that this father paid. Talking about the gifts. All right. Well, we know what happens later on tonight. We're going to have Black Friday coming, right? Everybody's gearing up for the next big thing, the one that's got commercialized, Christmas. That's, you know, a point of time in the year that we get gifts for our kids, another holiday that we want to celebrate. And so I had to go back through this footage as we was putting that documentary together, and I found these videos of John giving Christmas gifts to the kids months later, saying, and birthday gifts, saying, see, I bought you gifts. I sent them to you, but they got sent back to me. They didn't let you have it. Man, we're talking about a whole other level here, guys. And when somebody like him goes to talk and say, you know, think about, especially like doing what I do here. If we talk about some of these issues that these guys face, the first thing that happens is, oh, you're bashing all women. Not all women are like that. This isn't as bad as you say it is. I'm glad, or my situation wasn't like that, so that means nobody else's is. Thank you for saying that your personal situation excluded the billions of other people in this world based off of your one experience. This is something that's rampant, guys. And there is a reason why there is all these people in here talking about these issues, because they identify with each other. They all, it plays into stereotypes, because there is some real stereotypes that goes on here. Christmas gifts and birthday gifts being returned. We've seen it. False allegations. We've seen it. Every one of these issues, believe it or not, when I start hearing somebody tell me about their story, it is almost identical to one of the stories that I heard before it. And so it can be stereotyped sometimes. Does that mean that everybody's that way? No. But when are we going to stop and listen to these guys? Why didn't the system listen to him? You realize if this system that he went through, that he paid, that he fought for years, worked, he might still be alive. I take that serious. Don't tell us to stop talking. That makes me want to get louder. I've got another one that I want to play. This was after John got off, and then, like I said, I pulled him back on the screen, and I did not know it was recording. So me and him just had a talk, and I've talked about it recently, guys. I don't know how much you follow Dad Talk, but one thing that we've done over the past several years is we've been heavily involved in politics. And here recently, as much as I want to get some change in this political arena,
And keep going.
let me pull that down. I'm getting the file ready. But as much as I want to get some change in this political arena, and we have fought it tooth and nail, it feels like it falls upon deaf ears. You talk to a politician, they tell you everything you want to hear. Do they back it up most of the time? No. What's happening in the meantime? It's guys like him that is losing his life fighting for these kids. But society is say if he's not there, he was a deadbeat, right? So not only do you got the bias in the courts coming against you, but you automatically have this stigma that if a dad's not there for his kid, he must have done something wrong, or he's just a deadbeat. He's an absent father. These guys can do everything, and they will still have all that thrown at them. It's despicable, man. It really is. Thank you for those of you that come in here and support it. And like I said, at the same time, I want to give that equally out. There's so many other guys that if they haven't been through this and they come in here and they see these guys, oh, stop whining, put your panties on, or get out there and work and do what you're supposed to. Be a man. Man, shut up. Get down in here in the trenches and see what's going on. This was 2 years ago, guys. Do you know what happened after I reported on John's case? Multiple murder cases started rolling in. I had another one almost right after that was identical to John. Father-in-law shows up at the custody exchange, shoots the guy. The only difference in that was a different caliber. John was shot 3 times. His father was shot 4. False allegations. I mean, almost identical. And that's why I say to you, no matter how different you think your story is, there's somebody else out there that's experiencing it. Most of the time, it's many. We just haven't had anywhere that puts the spotlight on it. And so what happens then? It's up to us, guys. Am I my brother's keeper? You're damn right I am. We all are. And we need to start propping each other up. I'm going to get onto this other conversation I had with John, and I did get your voicemails. We're going to play those here in just a bit.
And keep going.
Hey, brother, I sure do appreciate you coming on here and sharing a little bit of your heart on your holiday with everybody. And I hope everything goes well for you, my man.
Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving, Eric, and thanks for all you do.
Thank you. All right. I'm going to edit this part out. I'm going to have that on there, but I appreciate you coming on, man. It's going to be a bad time of year. This time last year, it got really bad, like the false allegations and stuff that was going on. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to try to make this video for somebody out there that's struggling through it. Are you getting to see your kids at all?
So I have a court order saying that I have unlimited access to them through Zoom, video, telephone, but it's 6 months and she has not allowed it. And we had some other court events, and this order is from coronavirus. So the in-person visits, she's exploited the coronavirus to no extent, or to a pretty hefty extent there. So no, I haven't gotten to see my kids in 2.5 months. I did see them some over the summer. I think there's a final order coming up where things will get better.
COVID-19 was the biggest present an alienator could have ever received.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
They're
Even like the gift. I'll tell you this one more thing. I'm laughing about it now because I have friends around me and I'm happy in my life. But I would give them, during some of my visits over the spring and summer, I'd give them some gifts. Kids couldn't receive them. They either threw them away, or when they did see something they kind of liked, it was from China. So even then they couldn't receive some of those gifts because of COVID, and possibly a germ would be on there from China. Yeah, it's sad, and I just think there's ways around that. But thanks for all you do, Eric. I really appreciate it. You're making a huge impact.
Well, brother, I appreciate it, man. I'm gonna get a couple more of these together. I'll edit it and have it up tomorrow. And good thing about stuff like this, even though I didn't say your full name, you didn't say your kid's name, you can always show this to your kids. That's I
Absolutely.
have to work around it. Some of these guys want to come in here and tell all their details about their case. That can get them in trouble. It can get us in trouble, and it's not really smart for them to do it. But
at this point, thanks, Eric, for being respectful there. But at this point, I'm just not concerned about it. I mean, my case it's been a nightmare and really a joke, and it's a shame that our society and our system of government is like this. It's really, really bad. My kids are, especially my son, is really, he's a broken boy, and it really bothers me.
Are you doing any advocacy work or volunteering for any of the organizations right now?
As much as I can. If anything, I do something for you. And I'm still kind of in the thick of it, going towards the end of things, I think.
Right.
But at some point, I sure don't want to forget what I've been through. I sure don't want to lose that motivation, because on one side of me, I'm very angry. I'm so angry, not necessarily outwardly or in a bad way, but I'm really motivated to really make a difference at some point, to possibly run for office, or at the least do some pretty good advocacy work.
It's what we need, man. I'll be honest with you, though. When you get into the politics, I hate politics. I just started going and meeting with these guys earlier this year. They don't care. You mentioned Title 4D to them, and they think that they're going to lose money. It's out.
I had a meeting. Yeah, I agree with that. I had a meeting with just a local state representative a year ago, and he wants change, maybe, but maybe he just let on like that. But he said as soon as we start touching that, even at the state level, there's no change coming at all, is basically what he said.
That's it, man. I'll tell you what, we got our next caller coming.
All right, guys. Oh man, lots more thoughts going on there, and I'm trying to. It's hard because as I hear stuff, I'm like, oh man, I want to make sure I touch on this, but there's just no way to cover it all. One thing I would say to you guys is, if you are one of these parents, like me and John was talking about, that's not able to see your kids this holiday, please do me a favor. Get in those journals, write those journals, make sure you're documenting it, letting them know, hey, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking about you. Because when he said something about those journals, the second I found out he was murdered, I told the family, go get him right now. If you read those journals, which I do believe most of them, another thing I'll say, if you're not following the John Mast Foundation on Facebook, please do so. That is a very important organization that is carrying on John's legacy. He obviously wanted to get involved. He even mentioned it right there in this. I feel so stupid looking back on this sometimes, though, because I didn't know how much or how bad it was what he was going through. And here I am telling a guy that's been through that system way more than me. But we're all just trying to figure it out together, right? But, he was somewhat cheerful that day because he knew that he had won his case, and just a few months later, he was going to be able to see his kids. We didn't know that was what was going to be happening. I didn't get to talk to him, but the second that he found out he was going to get to see his kids, he sent me a message and showed it to me. And then immediately after this broadcast, he's like, hey man, I forgot about this, but I wanted to talk to you some more. And he started writing me, but please follow the John Mass Foundation and let's help keep his legacy out there. I know, like I said, I've played these videos a couple of times on the podcast. I'll be honest with you, I'll probably end up playing them a good bit more. There's nothing I would take since I've been doing this podcast, more than that conversation, because I didn't realize the reality behind those words at the time. The good thing about this is, even though we didn't say your name, we didn't say your kid's name, this is something that you can always go back and show your kids. Now it's up to us to make sure that they see it. So, all right, guys, I'm going to get to these voicemails. And, the reason I wanted to talk about this before that was just, again, to show the importance of what these shows are. When you call in today, I hope we don't ever have another situation like this, but you just never know. You really don't ever know. I'm really planning on hitting that case pretty hard coming sometime soon. So just, keep a lookout for it. But let me get to these few voicemails and then we are going to get out of here. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Happy Thanksgiving, Dalen and Gabriel. This is Jason Ramirez, your father. If you hear this, I just wanted to say I love you and I miss you. Those two little brats of mine that I don't get to be a dad to. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving, gentlemen. Shout outs to the Dad Talk crew. Later.
Hey, Jason, man, I appreciate that. All right.
Hi, I am a parent and a professional that works in the field of family law, and I just want to send a message to all of the other parents and family members who might be experiencing parental alienation that you are not alone, that I'm speaking out and I'm finding a movement of others that are standing up to address all the gaps and needs in the family law system, and ultimately to shift to collaborative, mediative approaches, and that litigating and putting a family at odds is not the way. And good people are coming together, and at the time of the holidays, I want those who are suffering at the injustice of the family law system that I've seen both professionally and then experienced personally. And I cannot speak highly enough for the people that are heroes, that are standing up with courage, the professionals that are going against the industry and against their own colleagues when colleagues are acting with corruption or aware of abuse, lies, falsified allegations, things that are really abuse of adults, abuse and criminal, breaking of criminal laws for a benefit, either financial, power, domestic violence, untreated mental health issues. But we have the ability to rise above that. And I see it all of the time with everyday heroes who are doing it in sports, youth events, activities, churches, family events. They're asking, where's your other parent? How's your mom doing? How's your dad doing? And showing that we don't turn a blind eye to parental alienation. No parent should ever be blocked or normalizing abductions and mental manipulations. When children turn away at such extremes, it's obvious that they were taught. The children that we see are born with unconditional love, and that's what we need to protect in standing up. And I just want to share that message for all the parents who've gone through even a drop of what I've gone through. Don't ever let it bring you down. Don't ever let anyone make you feel that to abduct a child, a race, a family has anything to do with bad parenting. That's abuse. And to stay strong, stay positive, speak out, be a beacon of light for other parents, and shine light on it, because it's going to come out. There's a movement. I feel it. I'm seeing it. Every time I speak out and I start to confront other professionals, everybody says this is normal, this is the best system we have, until I say, well, let's put that in our documentary, and start to say that to people. Reach out, ask children, who may be alienated, are you okay? Ask a parent who may not have seen their child for a month, a year, 10 years. Hi,
healthy marriages. It's not just about divorce rights. What if divorce never had to happen? Right? That's really the ultimate goal that we should be going after here. Unfortunately, sometimes you don't know who you're with until you're there. But somebody is saying something is wrong with the audio. Can you guys not hear me? I'm on live. So if you can't hear the audio, that really sucks. Okay. I don't know what happened. Country internet is all I can tell you. Before that goes out again, let me get into this last voicemail and then I'll talk to you for a second and we're going to get out of here.
Hey, happy Thanksgiving, Dad Tuck and Eric. Thank you for all your support in fighting for children's rights and equal parenting. I want to throw a shout out to my son Lucas, who is 11 years old, who resides in North Carolina, and also my 1-year-old, Julian, who resides in Malden, Mass. I myself live in Somerville, Massachusetts, and, missing the holidays with my children is a beating. But I'm thinking of them. I wish they were here, and the legal system is just a battle. Thank you so much for your support and giving me the opportunity to just say hi to Nicholas. Thank you.
Hey, man, I appreciate you calling in. Real quick, guys, before I get out of here, if there's anybody that wanted to say something to their kids, but you didn't get in that voicemail, put it down in the comments real quick. I'll read them on the screen. I want to make sure we give you a voice for Thanksgiving really quick. Here's one from Mr. Tom Buddy Fitzpatrick. He said, "Hey, happy Thanksgiving, guys. Much love and thank you for all you do. Happy Thanksgiving to my daughter, Cassie, my son, Rory, and my granddaughter, Savannah Love. I'm thankful for the time we are together. It's been an uphill battle. I am still fighting for the future." Amen. Ricardo Rampone said, "Happy Thanksgiving. 8 months, zero contact with my children. No holidays for me." I hate hearing this stuff, man. But brother, take, for any of you that aren't going to be able to see your children today, take some time. Take care of yourself. Don't just sit at home and dwell on this. Find something to do. Take care of yourself. It's okay to smile. It's okay to love yourself. You're going to need that time. You're going to need these things to help you get through the bad times. Like I said, guys, if you're not writing them journals, make sure you're getting those feelings down. You might not be able to trust anybody else, but can be there, for yourself. And I do believe that is therapy. There's been many times when it's hit me really hard that coming on here and doing this with you guys definitely helps. I won't lie. There's been other times I hear a lot that's going on in these cases, and it also pulls the trigger strings. So if it's something like that, be careful. I was really hoping nobody would watch the show today. But for those of you that did, like I said, thank you for your support. We've got the morning show going on. I just started back in the past week. And we've had some really good guests, man. And it's been good to connect with you guys. I've always wanted to have something where we can connect with a guest. Unfortunately, everybody wants to tell their story. And nobody can tell their story in a short period of time. You can sit with somebody for 24 hours, they'll still be going because they got so much they want to get out. Even like the mass story, I have been consumed with that story for 2 years now, and I still find out new details every day. So it's like, how do we give somebody a voice, but be able to get to everybody? And that's what we're doing with those voicemails. And it's important for the world to hear that, because there's still many people that don't believe this problem exists, or they don't realize how bad it is. For many of them, the only experience they know with divorce and just how ugly the courts can get is Johnny Depp. Uh, a lot of times the world don't listen to it, but they tuned into that, right? If that's what you got to use as a conversation starter to get that conversation out and do it. But until then, get those voicemails come in. Please, please, I cannot overstate this enough. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to these podcasts. There's a lot of work that goes into making this content, and we want to make sure it gets out to as many people as possible. This is not exactly the most popular thing to talk about, and a lot of times it gets censored. I'm telling you, believe it or not, this is just a battle all the way around. When you see just, like I said, how much corruption goes into this fight, there's been days that I've literally sat there and thought to myself, "We'll never. I don't know how we're ever going to fix this." And then I have to get back in the mirror and remind myself of why I started this. If it was easy, somebody would have done it a long time ago, right? This cause is worth it. Your kids are worth it. You are worth it. And that's why I said, if you are alone today, you don't have your kids, I want you to get off this broadcast right now and go do something. Okay? Get off this broadcast. Go take care of yourself. Make sure to get you a meal. And then you guys right back in here maybe later on. Tell me what you did. Tell me what your favorite food was that you ate for this Thanksgiving. I am looking forward to a turkey. I smoked a turkey on the pellet grill last night. Stayed up pretty late doing it. So I am looking forward to getting into that. But before I took off, I wanted to make sure to come on here and talk to you guys. I'm not going to lie. My head's a little swimming right now, watching back on those recordings with John. What is my thoughts? Is I hope there's not another story like that out there right now about to happen. This is a bad time of year, guys, for this community. The holidays are one of the worst times that you could be going through these issues. It's never a good time to be going through it, but the holidays, when tricks can be played, they can limit your time with your kids. You show up at the school thinking you're about to get your kids. That's when you get hit with a restraining order or something happens. And there is just human beings out there that will use these kids as a weapon, and I'll never understand that one. How can you hate your ex more than you love your child? Sometimes you just got to get over it. Maybe you got really hurt in a relationship. I don't know what it is, but you owe it to that child to protect that relationship with both parents. You don't have to agree with everything they do, but your child needs that. Let them make that decision. Because one day, when they come back and see that you kept them from that, you robbed them from that, I want you to look at those fatherless statistics. Look at what's happening to these kids that are growing up in a fatherless home. And I get it all the time, because it's cancel culture. Well, I was a single mom. I raised my kid. None of that happened. Good. And I really do mean that. I don't mean that in a sarcastic way. Good. Because we want our kids to do good. But how many aren't? So we're going to say because my situation was different and it was good, we need to keep the system this way so that this can just keep on going the way that it is. Where is the freaking sense in this sometimes, man? Rattle on about this all day long, but still get it. Because that's just, like I said, how bad this thing has been ran into the freaking ground. I really wish there was some people that had some intestinal fortitude to themselves in these offices that can change these laws. But guys, I was talking to John about Title 4D. I've been kind of crossing the line a little bit here lately. A lot of what I talk about is like advocate talk that you do behind the scenes, because we don't want the legislators to hear, how we feel about it or give them any ideas to make them not want to change the system. But, Title 4D, they make money off of child support. Think about that. They make a percentage off of every dollar paid in child support. And it goes back to the states, and that's what they run a lot of their programs with. Now, you go to somebody that created the problems, that created the laws in the first place, politicians, who most of the time are going to be attorneys that definitely have their hands in the pocket. They're doing this as a career. Why in the world would I want to change something that takes profit out So you're asking the people that created the problems to give us solutions, and then they find out, ooh, with those solutions, not only do I lose money with my practice, but the state loses money because of child support. One of the number one things that you'll get when you go ask for equal rights for parenting, and think about that, especially in the father's rights world, nobody's asking for full custody. They go in there and say, we want to get equal rights from the beginning. That should be a right, not a fight, not superiority, not the majority. We want equality. That should be good, right? The first thing that they're going to say to you is, how does this affect child support? What does that matter? As long as the kid is getting access to both parents, isn't that what's in the conversation? Nope. How does this affect child support? Because they know that budget is attached. You politicians need to find something else to attach your money to besides this blood money. You really do. And going and asking abusers to stop the abuse, man, I just don't know how effective it is, guys. We got to change the culture. We got to have some of these conversations. We can't be afraid. You know, even I've changed a lot through the years. So I was going back to John. I was like, you know, you got to be careful in how you talk, and which you do, because the last thing I wanted was that podcast to be used against him in court, because they will use anything they can against you. And here I was, you know, kind of telling John, we got to be a little careful. And he's like, Eric, at this point, I just don't care. You know, what was going through my head at that point, John? Well, here's a father. He needs to be a little bit careful. You know, I know he's saying he doesn't care. His emotions are getting the best of him. No, he was right. I was wrong, John. Should have allowed you to scream it to the rooftops. Which is why we're doing the voicemails. I want to hear from you guys. Please keep that show going. I will get on here every day to make sure those voicemails are getting played. I promise you that. And I said it a while ago, and I say it again. Get off this show. Go do something for yourself. Make sure you're taking care of yourself. And I hope you guys have a happy Thanksgiving. I know that's hard to even think of if you're going through these issues, but you can do it. Male suicide is at an all-time high. We can continue with those numbers going the way they are. And for anybody that comes in here again and tries to quieten these guys down, think about that again. Male suicide at an all-time high. I think the last time I looked at the statistics, it was 7 times higher in men after the age of 21 than it was of women. Why? Could you imagine carrying all this baggage on you and not having anywhere to talk to anybody about? And then when you do show up and you go to talk about it, oh, you're a misogynist. You're talking about all women. You're bashing them. You need to stop what you're doing. Don't shut my guys up, man. Brothers, I'm glad you're here. Keep talking. Keep walking. We're going to make it through this. I'll be back with you tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern, and there will be a replay of that at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern tomorrow night. I hope between now and then that I hear from some more of you guys that I didn't hear from today. Send me those voicemails. We want to hear from you. 762-441-0281. Again, that's 762-441-0281. Thanksgiving 2022. I don't know about you guys, but I tell you what, this year went by quicker than any year I've ever lived in my life. It seems like the older you get, the more the days just go on by. And, you know, I'm sure by the time we blink our eyes, we'll be back on here doing Thanksgiving 2023. I hope by that time we've moved the needle a little bit. I really do. But never take life for granted. We only get this thing one time, guys. We only get this thing one time. You'll never be able to buy that time back with your kids. But make the most of life while you can. Don't give that up. Don't ever give that up. You're saying, I lost the battle. You're better than that, man. I'm not going to sit here and preach at you about that, but you got so much to live for. You got so much to be happy for. Yeah, things are bad. You got to, guys, I can't stress this enough. You got to make it through those bad times to really be able to enjoy those good times. You got to fight for it. We got to fight for it. And if there's anything on the face of this earth that's worth fighting for, it's that title right up here on my side, Dad. We're not going to fight for anything else. We can fight for that. And that is the reason you don't give up. Guys, I'll see you tomorrow, 10 o'clock a.m. Eastern. Love you. Happy Thanksgiving. Hey everybody, Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also Super Chats, patreon.com/Dad Talk Today, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.